Welcome to From Washington on October the 7th, 2013. I'm sure that all of you have been watching the news and reading the media reports about the continuing crisis here in Washington over the appropriations process as well as the upcoming issue concerning payment of our nation's debts and obligations. These situations are serious and are causing many individuals difficulty not just in employment, but in many of the health and human services programs that we're associated with and who participate in community and public transportation. Many organizations like Head Start and WIC are running out of financing for their particular local operations, and in many respects, these national issues are becoming local and they affect those who most need the kind of help our program Friends provide and the community and public transit network serves. I wish that there was some positive news we could provide on that front, but as yet, as you know from your own looking and reading, there isn't any. Our greatest concern is the situation will go on longer and that no resolution of the deficit issue will be resolved before the default date that takes place next week. The default crisis and this financing have some very direct issues for the Community Transportation Association. For instance, starting last Friday, we were no longer able to make any loans with our loan funds or the funds we leverage for loan activities. As you know from our prior discussions, it's been our goal to link the funding and financing efforts that we do through CDTLS, through the Small Business Administration, and through the U.S. Department of Agriculture and other federal guarantors who provide guarantees for the loans we make, meaning that we can make more loans by stretching our dollars further and further. As of Friday, the SBA and the USDA, agencies in charge of those efforts, have let us know that no loans can be made as long as the shutdown persists. We're also concerned that as the shutdown persists, the restarting of those efforts could take even longer. So many of the things that we had planned to roll out later this month and in early November are going to be subject to where we are on both the appropriations and deficit side of the federal actions here and in the Congress. As we look at the way we were improving our work in economic development in transportation, we've also suffered a setback this week because we cannot initiate our new effort to provide technical assistance as well as financing to rural communities around several of the nation's ports. We proposed a demonstration project with our friends at the Department of Agriculture that would allow us to provide technical assistance to local communities who want to create jobs and improve transportation that help get people to work in the port systems, both on the coastal ports and in inland ports. We have 4 communities scattered around South Carolina and in Alabama and in Virginia, as well as Washington State, that would be our first examples of these innovative approaches of linking people who transport people back and forth to work, but also transport goods and commodities. This demonstration brings together the best of our efforts in financing public transportation as well as financing trucks and freight operations. Those will have to wait till this issue is resolved. I'm very sorry about that because I had high hopes that we'd be able to link great concepts of moving people and moving goods as a way that we can help facilitate the dynamics of economic development, especially in those communities where rural people have a higher level of unemployment than in neighboring, more urbanized communities. As this situation continues, it will become more difficult for community and public transportation providers to maintain their services. Since the federal government will not be making grants in the 5311 program, funds to our states will be becoming diminished. Funds to our urban transit agencies will suffer the same situation. Sooner or later, construction and or operating in those areas will be reduced. The difficulty for us in that case is one of the things that we're able to do as a financing organization is to provide interim financing for people and transit systems that experience difficulties like this by making loan funds available. We are not going to be able to do that either. People will be forced to fend for themselves with very little support on interest rates. Consequently, those who seek to borrow money will find themselves at a significant disadvantage, especially when banks and financial institutions know that there is no guarantee that the federal government will actually pay for the funds many of those people will need to operate. In all my time in Washington, this is truly the most unique and negative period that I've ever seen. It's hard to imagine, just a short time ago when we were meeting in Cambridge, that it would actually get to this, or that there would be a possibility that the Congress and the administration would not be able to resolve the issues that could affect our ability to pay our bills and to pay and make payments on the national debt. This is a serious situation and a serious one that in the end will affect everyone. So I hope that you're in contact with your representatives in Congress, particularly the House of Representatives, to let them know that you feel this situation is serious and that the work that you do in taking people to health care, giving priorities to helping people go back and forth to work, to creating the links that community and public transit provides, are at risk in this situation, and that the longer it lasts, the greater the difficulties. Finally, we are very concerned about some of the other rhetoric that has emerged in the last week, including the discussion, at least among Democrats, of holding the budget numbers in the debate that is going on now at the sequester level. That means that the cuts that took place in many of the programs that support community and public transit would remain permanent. That is an issue that we're also working with others about as well. As you know, in many of the states over the last week, the Affordable Care Act has been open for business and the exchanges are up and running. We still believe that in the end, should that legislation move forward, it will be good by adding assets to community and public transit for needed medical services. I disagree with those who would like us to wait another year on moving forward on any aspects of those activities because the transportation is needed now. And although not everyone is ready to face the issues associated with the exchanges, I do believe everybody should be concerned about the transportation needs of lower income people and their health care, regardless of the other debates. So we stand at this crossroads today, waiting for Congress to do its job, waiting for the administration to provide leadership, and waiting on the people charged with responsibility about looking after what's best for our country to fulfill their jobs and their mission. Again, those in the House of Representatives in particular need to hear from you, and they need to hear the message that the American people who depend on our services should not be put at risk for issues like this, and that Congress was sent here to solve our problems, not to create them. So until we know more, we'll be in touch. And in the meantime, I hope you will convey that message and do all that you can to educate those back in your communities to the fact that if this drags on longer, you're not going to be able to provide the help and services that are so important. Thanks, bye for now, and we'll be in touch soon.